Good afternoon, students. So today we're going to talk about APA formatting. So APA, we check for formatting as the very last thing we do before we hand in our paper. After we check for essay structure and make sure our essay structure is good, then the very last thing we do is the proofreading, editing stage where we check for grammar, mechanics, and APA formatting. And so if you're not familiar with APA formatting, then this lecture is for you. So without further ado, I will start my lecture on APA formatting. So Chapter 10, APA and MLA formatting. Identify the major components of a research paper written using APA style. In this chapter, you will learn how to use APA style, the documentation and formatting style followed by the American Psychological Association. There are a few major formatting styles used in academic texts, including AMA, Chicago, and Turabian. And so every field has its own formatting style. AMA, American Medical Association for Medicine, has its own formatting style for medicine, health, and biological sciences. APA, American Psychological Association, is used for education, psychology, and the social sciences. Chicago Turabian, a common style used in everyday publications like magazines, newspaper, and books. MLA, Modern Language Association, is for English, literature, and humanities. Turabian, another common style designed for its universal application across all subjects and disciplines. While all the formatting and citation styles have their own uses and applications, in this chapter we will focus on APA, even though it says MLA, but I will focus mainly on APA. Following these guidelines serves several important purposes. First, using APA or MLA signals to your reader that your paper should be taken seriously as a student's contribution to a given academic or professional field. It is the literary equivalent of wearing a tailored suit to a job interview. Second, it shows that you respect other people's work enough to give them proper credit for it. And finally, using APA or MLA helps your reader find additional materials if he or she wishes to learn more about your topic. You can simplify the process if you keep these broad guidelines in mind. Work ahead whenever you can. Get it right the first time. Apply APA guidelines as you write, so you will not have much to fix during the editing stage. Again, putting in a little extra time early can save you time later. Use the resources available to you. So you could go to www.apa.org or the Purdue University Online Lab, which regularly updates its online style guidelines. And also you could check your school writing center, which also has writing citation styles. So this chapter provides detailed guidelines for using the conventions developed by the American Psychological Association, APA. Writers in discipline as diverse as astrophysics, biology, psychology, and education follow APA style. The major components of a paper written in APA style are listed in the box below. So these are the major components of an APA style paper: title page, abstract, body, which includes the following: headings and, if necessary, subheadings to organize the content. In-text citations of research sources. All of these components must be saved in one document, not separate documents. The title page of your paper includes the following information: title of the paper, author's name, name of the institution, header at the top of the page with page title and page number. List the first three elements in the order given above, centered about 1/3 of the way down top of the page. Use headers and footers tool of your word processing program to add headers and footers to your paper. The abstract. The next page of your paper provides an abstract or brief summary of your findings. An abstract does not need to be provided in every paper, but an abstract should be used in papers that include a hypothesis. A good abstract is concise, about 100 to 150 words, and is written in an objective, impersonal style. Your writing voice will not be as apparent here as in the body of your paper. When writing the abstract, take a just the facts approach and sum up your research question and your findings in a few sentences. I remember when I wrote my MA thesis, I wrote up my entire paper first, and I wrote my abstract last. So margins, pagination, and headings. APA requirements also address specific formatting concerns, such as margins. Set the top, bottom, and side margins of your paper at 1 inch. Use double-spaced text throughout the paper. Use a standard font, such as Times New Roman, 10 to 12 points. Use continuous pagination throughout the paper, including the title page and the references section. Page numbers appear flush right within your header. Section headings and subheadings within the body of your paper use different types of formatting depending on the level of information you are presenting. Begin formatting the final draft of your paper according to APA guidelines. You may work with an existing document or set up a new document if you choose. Make sure you include the following: your title page, abstract, correct headers and page numbers. Headings. APA style uses section headings to organize information, making it easy for the reader to follow the writer's train of thought and know immediately what major topics are covered. Depending on the length and complexity of the paper, its major sections may also be divided into subsections and subsections and so on. These smaller sections in turn use different heading styles to indicate different levels of information. In essence, you are using headings to create a hierarchy of information. The following heading styles used in APA formatting are listed in order of greatest to least importance. Section headings use centered, bold-faced type. Headings use title case with important words in the heading capitalized. Subsection headings use left-aligned, bold-faced type, and headings use title. So here's what it looks like instead of me reading through it. So here you have the title, Heart Disease. If you're writing a book, Heart Disease would be the chapter title. And then here you have the first heading, and then you have second, third, fourth subheadings. A college research paper may not use all the headings levels shown in Table 1, but you are likely to encounter them in academic journal articles that use APA style. For a brief paper, you may find that Level 1 headings suffice. Longer or more complex paper may need Level 2 headings or other lower level headings to organize information clearly. Use your outline to craft your major section headings and determine whether whether subtopics are substantial enough to require additional levels or headings. So here you have an example. Jorge used only Level 1 headings. And so here, that would be like Chapter 1, Chapter 2. So here, Level 1 is the most important heading. In-text citations. Throughout the body of your paper, include a citation whenever you quote or paraphrase material from your research sources. The purpose of citation is twofold: to give credit to others for their ideas, to allow your reader to follow up and learn more about the topic if you desired. Your in-text citations provide basic information about your source. Each source you cite will have a longer entry in the references section that provides more detailed information. So every time you need to cite historical, numerical, medical, technical facts or an uncommon knowledge, you have to cite the source so that you give credit to the researcher. So your in-text citation provides basic information about your source. Each source you cite, oh, I read that already. Yeah, in-text citation must provide the name of the author and the year the source was provided. In some cases, when a given source does not list an individual author or authors, you may provide the name of the organization that published the material instead. So if you go to the Center of Disease Control, cdc.org, many times they don't publish the name of the author. So if you don't have the name of the author to the article, you could just write Centers for Disease Control, and then you write the date. And then if there's no date, you write ND. So when directly quoting a source, it is also required that you include the page number where the quota appears in your citation. And if there is no page number and you're using a website, then you would use the website paragraph number. So here is an example of a in-text citation. Epstein, 2010, points out that junk food cannot be considered addictive in the same way that we think of psychoactive drugs as addictive. So here you have the author, the date, and the page number. So here, this is an example of a direct quote because you have quotation marks, and then you have the author, the date, and the page number. Here, the writer names the source author when introducing the quote and provides the publication date in parentheses after the author's name. The page number appears in parentheses after the closing quotation marks and before the period that ends the sentence. Addiction researchers caution that junk food cannot be considered addictive in the same way we think of psychoactive drugs as addictive. And so here you have also a direct quote, and here you have the author, the date, and the page number. And so when you have a direct quote, it means that you're directly citing the source exactly as the source says. And then here's another way to write your direct quote. As noted in the Junk Food, Junk Science article, Epstein 2010, page 137, junk food cannot be considered addictive in the same way that we think of psychoactive drugs as addictive. So there are many different ways. Basically, all this does is it shows you many different ways in which you can arrange your direct quote. You can put it over here like the author, the date, and you can spread it out like this. Or you could just put all of it all together at the end of your citation. Or you can put the citation, in-text citation, inside your quotation. So there are many different ways to do it. It doesn't really matter which way you choose, as long as you include the author, the date, and the page number. And the reason why they show you all these different ways of doing it is to provide variety in your paper, so that your paper doesn't look too boring when you just use one style all the time. And then after you cite your book, these are all in-text citations, all occur inside the body of your paper. And then your reference list is at the end of your paper after the last page. The brief citations included in the body of your paper correspond to the more detailed citations provided at the end of the paper in the references section. In-text citations provide basic information, the author's name, the publication, the date, and page number if necessary, while the references section provides a more extensive bibliographical information. Again, this information allows your reader to follow up on the sources you cited and do the additional reading about the topic if desired. So here is the specific format. Here's the basic format of your reference citation. The name of the author or institution that wrote the source, the year of publication, the full title of the source, the book or the city of publication, the article or the name of the periodical or book in which the article or essay appeared. And then for magazine and journal articles, you also have to include the volume number, the issue number, and pages where the article appears. And then for sources on the web, Then you would write date that you retrieved the website and then where the source is located. The references page is double-spaced and lists entries in alphabetical order by the author's last name. If an entry continues for more than one line, the second line and each subsequent line are indented 5 spaces. So when you write your references page, and only your references page, you need to use left hanging indent. Following proper citation and formatting guidelines helps writers ensure that their work will be taken seriously, give proper credit to other writers for their work, and provide valuable information to readers. Working ahead and taking care to cite sources correctly the first time are ways writers can save time during the editing of writing a research paper. APA papers usually include an abstract that concisely summarizes the paper. APA papers uses a specific heading structure to provide a clear hierarchy of information. In APA papers, in-text citations usually include the name of the author, the year of publication, the article name, the publication name, and the date you retrieved the website, and the web address. In-text citations correspond to entries in the references section, which provide detailed bibliographical information about a source. So this is what it looks like, your section. So this section covers the nitty-gritty of in-text citations. And so here you would have, even if you're paraphrasing, okay, even if you're paraphrasing your source, you still need to cite the source. Here's an example of a paraphrase, okay? This is still, they're still doing in-text citation. They're still doing direct quotes. You can tell something is a direct quote when it has the author name, the date, and the page number. If you only have the author name and the date and no quotation marks, then that is a paraphrase quote. So then there are many different ways to do a direct quote. All of these are direct quotes. Now we have a paraphrase quote because you have no quotation marks and all you have is the author name and the date. So here the writer is summarizing a major idea that reoccurs throughout the source material. And when you have a paraphrase quote, you don't need a page number and you don't need quotation marks. And so here are many different examples. And this one, you don't need a page number. Although the writer is not directly quoting the source, this passage paraphrases a specific detail, so the writer chose to include the page number where the information is located. So this is an interesting exception. Here you have a paraphrase quote that doesn't really need a page number, but the writer himself decided to add the page number anyway because this is such a specific quote. So when you write a paraphrase quote, the page number is optional. It's only when you write the direct quote the page number is required. Now, when you quote a longer passage from a source, 40 words or more than 3 lines, you use a different format to set off the quoted material. So instead of using quotation marks, you create a block quotation by starting the citation on the new line, indented 5 spaces from the margin. Note that in this case, the parenthetical citation comes after the period that ends the sentence. So here's an example. In recent years, many writers within the fitness industry have emphasized the ways in which women can benefit from weight-bearing exercise, such as weightlifting, karate, dancing, stair climbing, hiking, and jogging. And then here you have your block quotation. Chang, 2008, found that engaging in weight-bearing exercise regularly significantly reduces women's risk of developing osteoporosis. Additionally, these exercises help women maintain muscle mass and overall strength and many common forms of weight-bearing exercise, such as brisk walking or stair climbing. So introducing cited materials effectively. Include an introductory phrase in your text, such as Jackson wrote or Copeland found, often helps you integrate source material smoothly. This citation technique also helps convey that you are actively engaged with your source material. Unfortunately, during the process of writing your research paper, it is easy to fall into a rut and use the same dull verbs over and over again. Jones said, or Smith stated. Punch up your writing by using strong verbs that help your reader understand how the source material presents ideas. There is a world of difference between an author who suggests and one who claims, one who questions, and one who criticizes. You do not need to consult your thesaurus every time you cite a source, but do think about which verbs will actually represent the ideas and make your writing more engaging. So strong verbs for introducing cited material: ask, explain, recommend, propose, insist, determine, evaluate, warn, suggest, assert, compare, hypothesize, argue, measure, conclude, point out, question, claim, contrast, believe, find, assess, study, and sum up. Highlight the verbs used in your signal phrases. What is a signal phrase? A signal phrase is when I say, Dr. Jones says. And when I indicate to the reader that I'm about to introduce source material, that's known as a signal phrase. Highlight the verbs used in your signal phrases and make note of any that seem to be overused in your paper. So here you have different ways of citing your sources. Chang, 2008, emphasized that, and then this is a direct quote, and this one is a paraphrase quote. That's the difference. Now I finally have the difference between when you have a direct quote, you have the author, the date, and the page number. And then when you have a paraphrase quote, you just have the author and the date. That's it. That is the only difference between the two. That's all you have to remember. It's really that simple. And here you have two dates because you have two different authors. You have J.S. Williams, 2007, and C.D. Williams. And so here you have two different authors that said two different things about. So if you say that Dr. Smith, 2007, says that it's okay to drink coffee, but Dr. Jones, 2024, says it's, in other words, one person says it's okay to drink coffee, but then another person says it's not okay to drink coffee. So then you have two different facts. So you always have to cite medical facts. Okay, so that is a common mistake, is people think that they could just cite medical facts, and if you forget to cite your sources, you are committing plagiarism. So always, if in doubt, cite. And so here you have many different kinds of reference citations. Okay, so many different kinds of reference citations and many different kinds of in-text citations. I won't go over all of this. I'll let you go over this yourself. All right. So basically we use APA in order to avoid plagiarism. We have to give credit to the researcher who did the research. And so this is most important if you're citing facts that are uncommon knowledge, and also if you're citing numerical, any kind of number, you have to cite the source. And all you got to remember is that if you're citing numbers, you should use direct quote. And direct quote is always the author, the date, and the page number, and quotation marks. And then if you're summarizing a source or paraphrasing a source, you still have to cite the source, and you don't need quotation marks, and you just cite the author and the date. And then if you are using, and then at the very end, your in-text citation has to match your reference citation. So herein ends this particular, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the Professor H Writing Channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at any time.